guys, it's Shanna, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my home birthing plan and why I'm choosing a home birth. So I had no idea that this was even a thing until my sister had my nephew Jude 6 years ago. She had a home birth, and that was like seriously the first time I really ever even heard of it or thought about it. I was always just like, you're pregnant, you go to the hospital. That's what people do. But then I watched the documentary, The Business of Being Born, which I highly recommend. It's an amazing movie and very informative. And that just kind of confirmed for myself that I would want to have a home birth. Then when I met my husband, he also watched the documentary, and he is very pro home birth as well. He would be like, want me to do whatever I would be comfortable with, but he really does like the idea of being at home. So whenever hearing about home births and stuff and deciding that that was something I wanted, I was always very nervous about my weight because I didn't know if that would be considered like a high-risk pregnancy. And I think in some places it probably would, but when I got pregnant and met with a midwife and everything, it never came up. It was never an issue. So I'm guessing as long as like blood pressure is not a problem and things like that, that's more so what they watch for and not just the fact that you're overweight. But I wasn't sure because I know I've watched like pregnancy TV shows and stuff, and they automatically just are like, oh, this woman's overweight. She's gonna have a high risk for gestational diabetes and all of these things. They just like assume is gonna go wrong with someone because they're overweight. When I picture the hospital, I picture it being very like cold and impersonal, a lot of bright lights and like doctors and nurses who don't necessarily care about me as an individual or my baby. I feel like they can have the mindset that you're just like another number and they're just trying to get you in and out so that they can get home, so that they can move on with their lives, and they just don't really care that much. And because they want to get home and get on with their lives, I feel like there's a pressure to perform and to deliver the baby quickly, even if the baby doesn't want to come quickly. And then I feel like they're trying to talk you into being induced or getting a C-section or different things like that just to speed up the process or to make their lives more convenient. And for me, like, that's not okay. Also, the pain medication, I feel like if I was at the hospital, I would be easily talked in to pain medication and things like that I do not want going into this. I also like the idea of being at home because I can choose whatever position I find more comfortable to be in, to deliver and to labor and all of that. I also believe there's probably less people when you're delivering at home than when you're delivering in a hospital. I feel like a lot of people are coming and going from your room in a hospital. And also like the father can be there. There's different things like that. Another thing that I have always found important, even before knowing about home births, was the skin to skin. Like, I've always hated like watching movies and things like that and seeing the baby just immediately ripped away from their mom and they're crying their heads off and they want their moms. And so even without knowing about home births and skin to skin, I was like, it didn't seem natural to me that they're just taking the baby and having to clean them and weigh them and poke and prod them and do all these things before going to their mom, which should be the very first thing that happens when a baby is born. Which I do realize some hospitals are fine with you having skin to skin or allowing you to move around the room, but I've heard also a lot of horror stories about hospitals who don't allow you to do certain things. Even the hospital right here in the town I live in, a woman was trying to get into a squatting position and they actually were pushing her back onto the bed. So I get that they have to do that because of liability and stuff like that. But see, I don't care because if it's me delivering a baby, I want to be able to do what I want to do, and it sucks that people have sued the hospital so much that the hospital has to be strict about things, but that just adds to my reason of wanting a home birth. So yeah, so then I met my first midwife, who was actually like a family friend, someone I've known. It was the one who delivered my nephew. So just because I knew her, I automatically went with her. And over time, I was just realizing it wasn't that comfortable. I didn't feel like I could like ask questions. I don't know. And like, it was definitely like a personality thing. Nothing she did. It was just, we weren't really compatible. And it got to the point where I ended up interviewing a different midwife. And as soon as I met her, I loved her, I clicked with her, everything was perfect, and once I decided to go with her, a weight was just lifted off of me, and I didn't realize how stressed out I was with the other midwife until I decided to switch. So it was like definitely confirmation that I needed to switch midwives. Another reason that the first midwife, I wasn't super comfortable with her, was she was very like scientific and fact oriented, and some people might like that, but for me, I needed like more nurturing and comfort and it's gonna be okay, and more of that type of vibe. One of the things my new midwife said when we met with her was that it was me and Brandon who made this baby, and we're going to be the ones raising this baby. So it's us that are bringing this baby into the world. And I loved that, like how she takes the approach of she's there if you need her, and like, but she's never trying to like interfere or get in the way, because it really is me and Brandon bringing this baby into the world. Also, with a midwife, I'm assuming all midwives do this, but if for some reason I have to go to the hospital, she will stay with me the whole time. And I really like that as well, because you kind of have an advocate in the hospital for you if, you know, doctors and nurses are coming in telling you things you don't know. And I think that's also one of my issues with the hospital, is that they can talk you into like needing certain things or doing certain things for the safety of your baby, and you're just going to listen because you don't know. Whereas if you have someone with you who knows, things can explain to you so then you can make your own choice. And speaking of choices, that is one thing over the course of having a midwife that I have realized is, I think, different from the hospital, is that you have more choices in things, and they don't necessarily try and push their agenda. So, for example, like after a baby's born, at the hospital, I believe they automatically give the baby a vitamin K shot. It's not even a choice. Whereas so for a home birth, you can do the vitamin K shot, you can do it orally, or you can opt out of it entirely. And for me personally, we're going to be doing the oral. I just don't see any reason to give my baby an extra shot when they're already just going through this traumatic experience of entering the world for the first time. So that was something that I appreciated, as well as I know they do like the glucose test at the hospital. You can choose to do it with a midwife or not. I did, but they do it completely different. Instead of drinking, I think you at the hospital drink something gross, supposedly, and then you wait an hour and then they test you or something. I don't really know for sure because I didn't go that way. But I know for me, like I was told, it was much less invasive. Basically just ate a breakfast with carbs and protein. Came in an hour later, she poked my finger just like with those like diabetic finger pokers. Checked my blood. That was it. Simple as that. I just feel like there's a lot, like I said, a lot more choices, and I think things maybe are a little more simple or simplified than when you're in the hospital. And like I said, I don't know for sure because I'm not going that route. Oh, another thing, I don't know if they give you choices with this at the hospital, but I actually have a negative blood type, and so if my baby has a positive blood type, I have to get a certain shot for that. And You can get it while you're pregnant, but again, if my baby's positive, I'll have to get it again anyways. So I'm just gonna wait till the baby's born to see if I actually need to get this shot or not. And I don't know if they let you choose to do that at the hospital or if they automatically make you get that shot while you're pregnant still. So yeah, that's just some things that I think are different from going with a midwife to the hospital. I just feel like they actually care about your opinion, and like they don't necessarily, or at least the midwives I've had, they haven't tried to pressure me in a certain direction. They just like lay out the facts. This is what it is. They maybe give me some paperwork on stuff, and then they have me make my own decision. Now, the one con that I feel like is to having a home birth, if it's a con, I don't know, is just the fact that you have to provide basically everything for your birth. Things like doctor gloves, pads, sheets, pillows. I can't really think of everything off the top of my head, but I had to buy a lot of things, and then she also had me order a birth kit like online that she put together that had a bunch of things in it. Thermometer, I don't know. Like there's just all these things, basically everything that you would get at a hospital, you have to provide for yourself for your home birth. So that'd be like the one con. And I did not think about that before even having a home birth. Like I never thought that I would have to get everything, which it really wasn't a big deal, and it wasn't complicated or even expensive or anything. It's just, that is one benefit to just being like, okay, I'm just gonna go to the hospital. I've heard a lot of bad things about the hospital right here in town when it comes to delivering babies, and they have been known to do things that you specifically say you don't want to do. Like they've been known to give vaccines or take blood panels or things like that that the parent has specifically said that they didn't want, and they do it anyways. My sister was just at the hospital with my niece, and all sorts of terrible things came out of that. I don't want to share just because I don't know if she wants me to share those things, but just kind of reconfirmed how much I will not go to that hospital. If I end up having to go to the hospital, I'll go to the next town over, because the local one, not good. Which is funny because the town I live in is very like natural and like home birth oriented and like hippie kind of vibes, yet the hospital is apparently way behind the times. I don't know, maybe the hospital feels like they have to, I don't even know. It's just stupid. So one difference also with the hospital and giving a home birth that doesn't really affect me because I have insurance that will pay anyways is that for a midwife, it's like $4,400. For a normal, ordinary, everyday, non-epidural, non-C-section birth here in Bozeman, it's $17,000. I also know at the hospital, or most hospitals, they will pressure you to get vaccinated. And speaking of that, I actually had to go to a doctor over the course of my pregnancy because I had these lumps in my stomach. I was curious what they were. Turns out they're fat pockets. So annoying. They're like these hard lumps that are just fat pockets in my stomach. Well, anyway, with that being said, while I was there, they like were pressuring me to schedule an appointment to get vaccinated for, I think it was like whooping cough or something, like when I was around 37 weeks pregnant or something. I think that's when it was. I don't know. At some point they wanted me to get this. And I was like, at first I didn't even know it was happening. So I was just like, okay, sure. And then they were like trying to schedule this appointment. I'm like, no, let me call because I have to look at my schedule. Oh, well, you can work around it, right? So I was like, okay, I guess. And they signed me up for an appointment, give me the paperwork, and I immediately leave there. I'm like, I'm not going back for this appointment. But they were so adamant that I get scheduled to do this vaccine it was ridiculous. And that's annoying. So my birth plan, obviously, is to have a home birth. I understand that things can change and you have to be ready for the unexpected. So yeah, my goal, obviously, is to have a home birth. The only people I want here are my husband, Brandon, my midwife, and then she has an assistant, and then I'm gonna allow my sister to be here because she is training to be a midwife. I never really gave that much thought, and then I was watching someone else's like birth videos, and they were talking about they were delivering at the hospital and they just wanted them and their husband in the room, and it was causing a lot of issues with their family, but that was their choice, and the reason they chose it is because it's them creating their family. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, that it's me and Brandon and our family. And as much as I love my mom and everything like that, like, it's just kind of a personal time for my family. I was originally planning on delivering in the birthing tub, and I'll still have the birthing tub here for labor, but my midwife was saying she had just been having feelings lately, like waking up in the middle of the night thinking about it, and she just is very nervous for me to deliver in the birthing tub in case I hemorrhage or anything happens. I guess there's just no quick, easy way to drain the tub or whatever. So, I will be delivering on the bed. We'll have to see how this goes, because I don't know that I want to have to sit back like you do at the hospital, because that's not a natural position. And I don't think that I have to deliver that way. I don't know. After the baby is born, my plan is to share my birth story. So I'll be able to share that with you guys, because you're super curious about what position I deliver my baby in. I'm very sure that you are. I also plan, and it's going to happen, is Brandon's going to cut the umbilical cord, and I don't want it cut until after it completely stops pulsing. I've read that a baby, when they come out, 30% of their blood is still in the umbilical cord, and that's a lot of blood, so I want that back into the baby. And then I will also be encapsulating my placenta. My sister does that, like as an actual business, so she will encapsulate it for me. And there's just, I guess supposedly there's no scientific proof to how great it is, but I believe that it's probably important, because apparently it's something that used to always happen. People would actually eat it. I couldn't eat it straight up. I'll take capsules. But yeah, it just is going to help with, theoretically, help with the healing process and reintroducing those nutrients back into my body, as well as, yeah, we're different than animals, but apparently like every animal like eats their placenta. So I'm just saying there must be a reason that they need those nutrients back into their body. And then of course, right after the baby comes out, Brandon will catch the baby is the plan. So Brandon will catch the baby and then put the baby right on my chest. Plan that he will announce the gender. I feel like I'm gonna cry. I definitely think I'll cry, because when I just think about meeting my baby and think about going into labor and like it just being real, I like already will start get teary-eyed. So I'm like, I probably will cry. So yeah, that's my birth plan, and the reasons I'm choosing a home birth over a hospital birth as my plan, because Lord knows what's actually gonna happen. But like I said, I do anticipate sharing my birth story after the baby comes. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.